Welcome patrons. We've gone over one Qunari-controlled island, but let's talk about the major one, the big one, the Qunari homeland, Par Vollen. History. Much like Saharan, the Qunari didn't always own Par Vollen. In fact, some scholars believe that the first humans actually came from the rainforests of Par Vollen. These humans would be responsible for the pyramids that are scattered around the island. What's interesting about these humans is that according to the art that they left behind, they were at one point subservient to a horned race, but not the Qunari. Not that these are two different races, but rather that the other horned beings weren't a part of the Qunari religion. Who these horned people were, where they came from, and where they went are unknown. There is also a mysterious race called the Fex that is native to the island, but I'll get to that in a bit because there's some things there. There are also dwarven ruins in Par Vollen that date back before the First Blight. Where these dwarves went is unknown. Tevinter would end up controlling part of Par Vollen for an unknown amount of time, but would lose what little control they had to the strange Qunari forces in 630 Steel. Because the strength of the Qunari forces and the distance from the mainland, Tevinter would actually abandon Par Vollen, leaving their people behind completely. It's said that the native humans were willingly converted to the Qun and live as part of their society. Perhaps in part because the humans of the area venerated the horned giants in the past. The war with the Qunari and the rest of Thedas would last for years, only dying down after the signing of the Lomaran Accord. All but Tevinter would sign it, calling a truce between the Qunari and most of Thedas. Tevinter and the Qunari have been in a constant war ever since, both sides taking occasional potshots at one another. After the Qunari invasion settled down, no outsiders were allowed on the island minus a small group of Ravani diplomats. One seer from Kandar would end up reporting what she saw of Qunari life on the island, and much of what we know of the Qunari would be from what this seer reported. Geography. Despite Par Vollen being cut off on the map of Thedas, it is said to be an island and not part of a larger land mass. While Thedas itself doesn't know what the rest of the island actually looks like, it's likely the Qunari do, and since they don't exactly share information with outsiders, I don't think we'll be getting an updated map anytime soon. We know of only one city, Qunari, which is the largest and supposedly only city of note. It's said to be large, with domes and aqueducts, and it rivals that of any large city in Thedas, like Cumberland, Valrayo, or even Minrathous. The rest of the island is said to be covered in jungles dotted with ancient pyramids, and likely ruins from civilization that's long gone. Politics and religion. I'm combining these two as with the Qunari, they're basically one and the same. The Qun isn't really a religion, it's more a belief system, but it's basically replaces any religion. The island as we know it is completely run by the Qunari. Qunari is supposed to be the Qunari utopia. Qunari society is split up into three branches which are led by the Triumvirate. As the Qunari believe their society to be one unit, they liken these branches to the body, the mind, and the soul of a person. The body, led by the Arishok, is the Qunari military. Qunari in this branch are the ones you are most likely to see outside of Qunari settlements like Par Vollen. The mind, led by the Arajinya, is filled with craftsmen and workers who help keep the community in working order. These are the bakers, the builders, and the common people, which means that this branch probably makes up the largest part of Qunari society. And finally, the soul, who is led by the Arakun, which is filled with priests and other Qunari workers who help the community thrive, like the Tamasrans who raise all of the children in their society. Now, there are no family units under the Qun. There are no marriages or partners. Sex is just for pleasure, with nothing said about love. All children born are given to Tamasrans to raise, and it's they who pick out the best roles for these kids to eventually grow into. These children aren't given any names and will eventually be called by the role they are given. Now, there is no worship under the Qun, only a belief system where you trust in the fact that the Qunari society will provide everything for you, and you only need to carry your weight for the betterment of all. This obviously means that there is no currency. People are given what they need when they need it, no questions asked. Before the Qun came to Par Vollen, there was likely a native religion, but it's unknown what it was or if it had anything to do with the horned people in the murals left over from their time. There's little in ways of politics because there's just no arguing under the Qun. The priests of the Qun almost act like rulers, with their interpretation of the writings of the Qun being law. When people step out of bounds or act in a way against the Qun, punishment can be harsh. People are taken by the Ben Hasrath to be re-educated, which basically means tortured until they see the error of their ways. Now, granted, they don't always jump right into torture, but it seems to be more common than not. Outside of Par Vollen, the rest of Thedas is on uneasy ground with the Qunari. The Lomarin Accord was signed by all but Tevinter to call for a truce, but it's almost an open secret that the Qunari one day plan to go back on their word. The Qunari will one day come to claim Thedas. It's just a matter of when. As for Tevinter, it's obvious the two don't get along very well, and there's been a constant struggle between them ever since the Lomarin Accords. We do also know that there are Tevinter spies in Par Vollen, although Tevinter insists that that is untrue. Culture. We just went over the Qunari culture, so I'm not going to go super into that, but let's explore the natives that built the pyramids. These pyramids are said to have nearly perfect proportions, and their placements on the island are supposed to correlate with the constellation Solium, known to represent the sun and some believe even the elven god Elgarnon. Why they were built and what they could do are unknown, although they are known to not be tombs, although some do hold preserved bodies, and the pyramids are well preserved. From the murals in these pyramids, we know that the island had a fairly large population of humans, with stories of unknown kings, musicians, archers, and also ships and intricate sea creatures. Dress. We have a few examples of Qunari dress, which involves a lot of red, ropes, and very little clothing, probably because it's so hot on Par Vollen. The actual horned people of the Qunari also wear vitar, which is actually poisonous to all the other races. But on Qunari skin, it hardens to actually protect, and when mixed with blood, supposedly Qunari blood, even activates some magical properties of the poison. Food. I have very little to say about food in Par Vollen other than bananas are apparently native to the area. Sten also mentions that there are no cookies in his culture, so we, I guess, can assume that Par Vollen has a terrible lack of cookies. Relationship with other races. The Fex. Here's the thing with the Fex. We know almost nothing on them. In fact, here is the exact source for all that we know.
Are there more sentient races in the Dragon Age universe than the ones we know about? Yes, there are. For instance, there is a race that was native to Par Vollen where the Qunari arrived that we have not shown yet. They're called the Fex, F-E-X, and you don't see them outside of Par Vollen very much, but yeah, there definitely are, and maybe there's even some beyond Thedas.
And that's it. I haven't seen any other mentions of the Fex since this interview, and even now I wonder if this is something that they will be cutting or have already cut from the series. But there it is. So at this point in time, I'm personally feel like it's safe to say that I don't think we'll be seeing the Fex, but if there are some strange creatures on the island that we one day see, then you know what it is. Elves. Elves are a common convert to the Qun, so there are probably elven people that are from the mainland of Thedas who have come over to Par Vollen. As with most of elven Qunari, these people come from slavery and were freed depending on your definition of the word. Dwarves. The Qunari do not trade for Illyrium, so they have almost no relationship with the dwarves. There is a chance that the dwarven ruins on the island might be cause for a few dwarven Qunari, but there are no reports of them. Qunari. It's unknown if there are any Talvashoth on the island of Par Vollen, but if there are, they are likely hunted and killed when found. If anything, being Talvashoth on Par Vollen might be the most dangerous place to be. Humans. Most of the humans in Par Vollen are probably the native people on the island that have become one with the Qunari society. There might also have been some Tevinters that were left behind when the Qunari first attacked the Tevinter settlement on Par Vollen, and there might also be some human converts of the Qunari from all over Thedas. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know about the mysterious Qunari home of Par Vollen. Do you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong? Comments about your own fan theory? Feel free to tweet me at Gilderthon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. Teresh Sharal.